So you were at GT the other day. Welcome back to the Red Path. So today I'm doing a bit of a different video. I'd originally planned on doing a report on the Khorne GT, which I just got home from earlier today. Excuse my kind of disheveled appearance. It's been a long weekend and a long day, so a bit unkempt, but anyway, besides the point. So I just got back from Khorne earlier today, and wanted to do a video on how I'm feeling rather than just sort of battle reports and stuff like that, because they're a dime a dozen. If you're interested, I've talked about it in the Discord and stuff. So I want to actually dive into kind of like the emotional roller coaster of it a bit. So this is more of a chill game learn kind of thing, which I haven't done in a while. So basically, going into this GT, I was pretty skeptical. I wouldn't say despondent or despairing, but I didn't expect much. I talked about it on social media and stuff about how I was hoping for at least one win, and my best case scenario was 2 wins and 3 losses. It was a 5-game event. The amount of very powerful meta armies was what was just had me quaking in my boots, quite frankly. I've been playing a lot of games on TTS, faced a lot of Tau, a lot of Custodies, some Harlequins and things like that, and it's very difficult. I haven't beaten any of them yet in multiple games, half a dozen against Custodies, 4 or 5 against Tau, 2 or 3 against Harlequins. I've got a draw against Custodies, which is the best I've got. Couple of close losses, and but it's all a learning experience. I'm not complaining about that. Of all the armies, Tau are the one that I really do have a true problem with, and I'm going to kind of talk about that in other videos as a broader thing. And I'm sure anyone who's played against them or is even playing as them understands where this is coming from. But I'm not here to just complain about them, because it's a GW thing. But I'm just going to bring up a spreadsheet here. Hopefully I'll have a copy on the screen for you. At the tournament I went to, almost 50% of armies there were what I would call top tier meta armies. So I've highlighted the very competent armies in green, armies that are very strong but maybe not quite as competitive now considering Tau and Custodies and things. They're in yellow here. In the orange is armies that have a 9th edition codex, but they need a very good draw of games or some good luck or a very competent commander to really sort of stand a chance at going 5-0. And then in red is those of us basically running an 8th edition codex. So you can see that about 50% were the top tier armies. This is number of players running these factions. 20% was very strong armies, and then 10% on the sort of low tier 9th, and then 20% of us old guard players, I guess. So yeah, 70% of the players were playing a very strong army, and of the 58 players that showed up, basically half of them, almost 30 were running very, very strong meta lists, whether Crusher Stampede or Harlequins or what have you. Although it does show Eldari, I think half of the Eldari players were Harlequins and the other half were either pure Eldar or had Eldar and Harlequins involved, so I kind of just merged them all there. So I was going into this tournament thinking, man, 1 win, at least I don't lose them all. 2 wins will be a success. And I mean, I think that was a realistic expectation. But I did allow that to maybe consume me a little bit more than I should have, and that's kind of why I'm doing this video here. So my first game was a loss, which is fine. It was against Chaos Demons. It was I think 4 Keeper of Secrets and Be'lakor, and then some Fiends and Demonettes and things like that. It's basically a Slanesh army. Super good player, really. First of all my games were great games. All my opponents were awesome. I do have some feels bad, but that's on me and not on any of my opponents. Great event, everything, no complaints. But my first game was a good game. I did lose by, I think, like 90 to 60, 90 to 55, something like that. Was outplayed, opponent deserved to win. Great, but it does start the tournament off on a loss, and you know, that's always rough. But I kind of expected it. But the problem was, the second game, was Abandoned Sanctuaries, which is the mission where you get no pre-game moves, which is kind of rough for World Eaters anyway, because we love to throw our Warp Talons up the board, you know, early and just hope that we get first turn. Not only that, I faced Tau. Of the 10 Tau players in the GT, I think 6 of them mirror matched in round 1, which was obviously not great because it meant 3 of them would lose and face other players that had lost a game, so it gave, you know, other people pretty tough round 2s, and I was unfortunately one of them. So I got Tau on Abandoned Sanctuaries and I went second. And whilst I couldn't Alpha Strike going first, going second meant my reserves would come in turn 2 after the Tau player had had 2 turns to move and screen me out. So even though I made some good charges from Deep Strike, which was the only way I thought I had a path to victory was by Deep Striking my Warp Talons and Terminators, even though I made some clutch charges, it was nowhere near enough. I was absolutely stomped. It was, I think he got 96 or 97. He basically picked Rod, so he couldn't score 100, or R&D, sorry, and I ended somewhere between 10 and 20 points. Yeah, it was an absolute landslide. The player, he was a great guy. Nothing against him, like he was completely understanding. He was just talking about, yep, you know, this is bullshit, but it is what it is. Nothing against him, but the lack of interactivity had me feeling pretty shitty after that. As anyone who's been on the receiving end, especially in a competition, will know, it's just not fun, and you don't get a game. You've paid money to go and play games, and you literally don't get a game. So I was actually kind of feeling pretty low after that. But I did have a third game, which I did manage to win against Necrons. It was a very close game, and it did come down to a knife edge. Basically, my opponent made a pretty big mistake at the end of round 5, which gave me an opportunity to swing the game, and I won by like 2 or 3 points. And had he not made the mistake, he would have won by at least 2 or 3 points, maybe a bit more. But again, super good player. I did snatch the win there, but it was such a close one, and I was exhausted, and I was coming off the low of 2 losses, that when I got back to my hotel, I sat in my car, smoked a cigarette, and was just sitting there in silence, and just thinking, like, do I want to do this? Do I want to go? Should I just go home now? Should I, you know, just go home? It's the end of spring break. I can hang out with my daughter for a day, you know, see my wife, you know, hang out, do some cool stuff, or I could suck it up and, you know, go back for day 2. And in my head, I'm thinking I'm probably going to get Tau again, or I'm going to get the Custodies player who's, you know, had some bad matchups or something like that. So I was pretty low, and I was chatting on the Discord a bit, and I messaged Dara, and, you know, was talking, and I just wasn't feeling it. I'd had enough. But this is completely anecdotal, and I'm not a superstitious man at all. But before the weekend, before I left, my daughter's currently crafting beads, right? Like wristbands and stuff, like whatever. She's a crafty person. I don't know if you can see it, there's a painting above me here, which she painted for me. And I assume it's Latara Sarin, which is why I've got it sitting up there. But yeah, she's into painting and making stuff. She loves it all. So she had made me a wristband, which I should have in my pocket here, because I had to take it off earlier. Made me a wristband here, and told me it was for good luck. And you know, it was sweet. And it was just in my pocket on the first day. So I was like, you know what, let's put it on. So I put it on. I'm sitting there thinking, and texted my wife and stuff, and she sent me some pictures, and then my daughter was texting me, and she sent me some pictures, and they'd been out for the day, gone to some weird art installation thing, and it just sort of brought me up, you know, just having a phone call in the end with my daughter and having a little chat about things. And it brought me up and, you know, put a smile back on my face, and, you know, seeing my daughter in some really emo pictures, because she's going through that phase, at this weird, really bizarre art installation and stuff. It brought me up, it lifted my spirits up. Nothing to do with 40k or anything, but it gave me what I needed in that moment, right? So anyway, I was like, you know what, hell with it. Go get me something to eat, and then I'm just going to have an early night, and we'll worry about tomorrow, and see how I feel. So I went back to the hotel, got my stuff, had something to eat, went back to the hotel, got a pretty decent early night, which is rare for me, but it was good. And then I woke up, technically this morning, and I was like, yeah, we'll do it, we'll just get it done. You know, we'll see what happens, let's play some 40k. So I decided, and you know, like I said, it was an unrelated incident, just, you know, talking to my wife and my daughter, talking to, you know, some friends on Discord and stuff. It was just what I needed to stop me, to bring me out of the depths of just thinking I'm a piece of shit player, and, you know, like, there's no point in playing 40k, and what's the point in this game if Tau just auto-win against me, and all these, you know, stupid thoughts. So that brought me out, and I went in and, you know, played 2 more games today, and got a win and a draw. So I ended up 2 wins, 2 losses and a draw, which I was very, very happy with. I felt I played good games. I did make some mistakes here and there. The only, like I mentioned earlier, the feels bad I had, I played an Imperial Guard player. He was super cool list, really well painted, but it was tank heavy list. So Lehman Russes, there was a Baneblade variant in there. And the fella, he couldn't roll a save, and he, like, even with his special guard re-roll number of hits, like, he was rolling low hits, he wasn't hitting me very well. You know, every time I popped smoke, it was just like completely decimating him. He just couldn't kill me, and everything I threw at him just was devastating. Like my Land Raider Achilles killed his Baneblade, and I think 2 Lehman Russes through the course of the game, and survived on 12 wounds. I had a Warp Talon champion who is getting a name after after her exploits over the games, because did some really clutch moves for me, just surviving. Lost in 3 rounds in combat versus Drakari, which was pretty epic, quite frankly, but that's besides the point. But yeah, that game against the Imperial Guard, I wasn't like, we was laughing about it. My opponent just walked away from the table several times. He'd, you know, roll 10 dice and 7 of them were ones or something. It was pretty ludicrous, and I was just rolling so hot. And I hate to win a game like that. I do think I probably would have won the game, just because he was so vehicle orientated, and I was very infantry heavy, and it was Games Workshop terrain. I think I could have outscored him anyway, but I don't like to win like that. So I think I won probably by about 20 points more than I deserved, but a win's a win. And then I got a draw in my final game against my local tournament organizer. Actually, he played Drakari, and we'd never actually played before because he's normally running the events. But we had a super great game, like incredibly close, and we ended up tying 42 each. It was just a really good game, like just absolutely tearing each other apart. It was super fun, and it was a great way to end the event. But yeah, that whole process of getting my head right, of using my family, my friends, whatever means I had, to stop the negative self-talk, right? To stop telling myself, to get out of the conversation I was having in my head. It was like, what's the point? Why do you even bother? Why are you playing this game? Like, what are you doing? You know, I dedicate an awful lot of time and money to YouTube, to talking to people, to, you know, going to games, to painting. I do all this time, and then, you know, I get a couple of bad games, and then suddenly I'm like, what's the point? Just quit. Why are you doing this if it makes you feel this way? And it's easy to get trapped in that kind of negative headspace, right? I'm sure we've all been there, especially competitive players. If you're running, you know, armies like the World Eaters or anything, it's very easy to get in that kind of headspace. You get a run of bad games, or some bad luck, or whatever you want to, you know, however you want to define it. And it just happened for me that talking to, you know, people I care about or I'm friends with or my loved ones. It brought me out of this weird little world that we live in temporarily when we're at a tournament, right? Because it's just a very condensed, isolated ecosystem that doesn't really matter, but it does matter because it impacts our mental health. This is our hobby, our enjoyment, our competitive, you know, game. It's what we work towards to be good at, whether we want to be a great painter or, you know, we want to end up in the top 10, you know, chaos players or whatever our goals are. It does matter, even if it, in the grander scheme of things, doesn't really. For yourself, for myself, it does matter because that helps me feel good about myself. It's, you know, I've got a YouTube channel about this, so I obviously care quite a lot, a bit too much probably, but so our mental health is important and maintaining it. So making sure I don't and we don't dive into this negative abyss so frequently is important. Now, I don't know how to stop to prevent it. I'm going to look into it. I'm going to dig up some of my old textbooks and kind of like work out stuff without it being cheesy, kind of like toxic positivity bullshit. But I'm sure there are things you can do to increase your stoicism with this sort of thing, you know, your mental resoluteness. But as a solution to it, I think what we can do as a first step is literally talk about either it or something else that is good. A little bit of venting, like I did. I went through a stage of venting, like complaining on Discord. Man, Tau suck, you know what I mean? But then going away from that and talking to my family and you know, hearing my daughter talk about this amazing stuff she'd been doing during the day, or my wife on how much fun she had spending the day with my daughter and things like that. Having that positive stuff pulled me out of the hole I dug for myself, which allowed me to carry on. Now, obviously, that's not always going to be a solution for everyone, and it's not always going to be reasonable for everyone. I mean, you know, some people might be quite, you know, secluded or don't have friends and family that they can easily turn to, or are just going through some bullshit in real life as well at the current time, and that's not an option. So there isn't a fixed solution, but I think there is a path for it. Definitely catharsize and get it off your chest. Try and maintain reason when you're doing it. We need to keep the salt in check because, you know, you love the player, hate the game. It's not your opponent's fault, unless it is, but the majority of the time, even if you're playing Tau, they probably love their army. Let's be honest. Most people right now don't have you know, a stupid amount of crisis suits unless they're a legit Tau player, and that's fine. You will meet that guys, but in general, you know, just remember your opponent has been playing a tough game for a while. They've got the cheese right now. We'll get it eventually. So remember that it's temporary. Use the tools you have, you know, your Facebook friends or your real life friends, or on Discord, our Discord, the Red Path Discord, right? Come in, have a little bit of a complaint. Absolutely fine. It's normal, it's human, it's how we deal with things, you know, we are literally getting things out of us, off our chest. And then find something positive that maybe isn't related to 40k and deal with that for a little while. Like literally pull your head out of the negative side of things by doing something good or being involved in something good. Now, in the event, you know, like, you can't do that. You know, quitting, whilst it's not something I generally advocate, your mental health, the person's mental health, is the utmost priority here. So if you are genuinely you've had enough, like, it's just fucking bullshit, you've hit Tau 3 times and you've got to play custodies or whatever it is, right? The boogeyman of the season. And you just can't handle it. And you just don't want to do, you just know you're not going to achieve the goals, you can't possibly achieve the goals you set for yourself, and there is no more fun to be had. If walking away is what's best for you in that moment, never feel bad about doing it. Just make sure that's exactly what you want. Make sure you definitely want to be walking away. But if that is, do it. Your mental health, you being able to just breathe and deal with the rest of the day, is far more important than 40k. But in general, if you can stick it out, if you can, you know, if you've got the energy to deal with it, do it, because there are other implications. You know, if you do quit, you are denying an opponent a game that they, you know, do have the right to play in some respect. It's probably an event you've paid for, so you know there's wasted money there. But again, those are secondary to your well-being. Furthermore, as I've had time to digest my, you know, especially my losses, you know, I've learned things. Not necessarily against the Tau, but against the Demons player. I've never actually played Demons. Certainly, no, I have played Demons, but I've never played Slaanesh Demons or Be'lakor. Now I've played them. Now I have a little bit of an idea of how to deal with them. I now know I need to deploy a bit further back and play more of a counter-offensive game against that kind of list, which I probably could have figured out, but you know, you're at a tournament, you're just focusing on what to do in that moment. You can't really spend time strategizing for an army you've never faced, right? Or against Necrons, it was against a dynasty I hadn't played certainly in a long time, so there were a few new things I learned. Even though I won the game, it was very close, and I only won really because my opponent made a critical mistake. And there were other things I did during, like in my last game against Shikari, I forgot to raise banners. I moved a cultist onto objective, raised a banner elsewhere, and I pre-game moved them, then moved them back, and I was like, yeah, I'd fully meant to do that banner, and I just, you know, so now that's something, hopefully I won't make that mistake again. So learn from your mistakes, and especially from your losses, because that's the way you can grow, so next time you're slightly less likely to lose that game and feel so bad, right? And I think oftentimes in most losses we can walk away from them, okay, that was fine. Like my game against the Demons, for instance, it's fine. I feel I played okay. It was just a better opponent. Maybe they had a better tuned list, or it was more appropriate for the terrain or the mission or whatever. These things happen. That's okay. And then, you know, you do get your games like, again, the Tau, where it's just uninteractive and it's hard to learn anything because you don't really get the opportunity to do anything. When you lose 900 points in turn 1 and you're going second, what are you going to do, right? So yeah, basically the message here, and this is probably the title of the video, is what I decided, what I kind of was thinking. My thought process is, I don't suck at this game. I'm not bad at 40k. I'm certainly not the best player. I'm not the best World Eaters player. I'm not the best World Eaters player in my state. But I'm a decent player. I'm competent. I'm confident in my understanding of the rules. I have, you know, decent to okay grasp of basic strategy and tactics. I can win games. So I don't suck, even though I thought, man, you're fucking terrible. You know, at that low point, I thought I sucked. And I'll guarantee you don't suck either. Even if you've lost your last 10 games, you might lose another 10, but then you'll win. And then you'll win again, then you'll lose, but your wins will go up. We all are all different players with different play styles, different army preferences, you know, different skill sets which apply to different parts of the game or playing your particular army in a particular way. And some people are always going to be better. Some people are going to be the Brad Chesters and the John Lennons and the Nick Namavards, right? But that doesn't mean you or I are bad players, and we don't suck. We're not bad at this. We're not wasting our time involving in the competitive aspect or the painting hobby side, or if we just like playing, you know, beer and pretzels games with our friends. These are not wastes of time. Do not let yourself sink into the hole of believing you are bad at this game, or this hobby, this game is worthless for you or has no value, because I can assure you somewhere it does. It may not be valuable at this moment, but at some point it will, because once you recapture what it is you love, like that, you get your spark back and you start pulling off those like really clutch moves in games again, or you get your, you know, your edge highlighting up to par or whatever it is. I don't understand the hobby side of it, but those things are out there to be earned and won and achieved. And you know, my goal, I want to win. I certainly want a top 5 at a GT, and I want to be able to start winning RTTs. I think a codex will obviously help, go a long way towards achieving that, but I think I'm certainly good enough of a player that is within my grasp with some more experience. And whatever your goals are, maybe you want to, you know, win the LVO or something, go for it. To do that, I think we have to limit and learn how to prevent and resolve the negative talk and just get rid of it. So yeah, so that's kind of my message. So yeah, what I'm saying is I don't suck and you don't suck either. So yeah, alright, I'm gonna shut it off there. But yeah, thanks everyone for watching, and if you want to talk about this kind of stuff, please come and check out our Discord. You know, links will be below and everything, all the normal stuff, Instagram and all that crap. But yeah, I appreciate you watching, appreciate you listening to me bullshit for a little while. But until next time, stay healthy, stay safe, and kill main bear.